You are building sugarcane farms wrong. Or a more polite way of putting it, you are probably building sugarcane farms wrong. Let me explain. Sugarcane farms are one of the most important farms in Minecraft. They're essential for crafting paper, which is used for crafting rockets that are used for the elytra, which is the best way to travel in the game. They're really good late game farms, but they're also really good starting farms. They are a great trade for villagers, specifically the librarians, and they're essential for upgrading gear. However, most people are designing farms that are unnecessarily costly and laggy. Most sugarcane farms rely on observers and pistons. They operate in rows of sugarcane, utilize hopper minecarts for item pickup and storage dispensing, which is all not ideal. They're costly. So for a one row of observers and pistons, this is a lot of materials. It you have to use a lot of redstone, a lot of iron, which early game is going to add up. They're also not space efficient, so every other row is replaced with water, and they're also laggy. So hopper minecarts take the lag of 50 hoppers. Hoppers in and of themselves are laggy. So observers are somewhat laggy, um, but overall, when you add hopper minecarts, when you add observers, when you add all of these materials, it really is not the best design. So this farm you see here was inspired by Mumbo Jumbo in his season 10 of Hermitcraft. He designed a sugarcane farm in his what's it called? His industrial district. That's the name he likes to use. He designed a sugarcane farm that utilizes a flying machine. So these flying machines are typically used for bamboo farms, which grow much higher, but he made one for a sugarcane farm. And so I saw this, I was inspired by this farm, and I have since made some improvements to it. So some issues I had with Mumbo's farm was that it's space inefficient because he used rows of water, and um, you can add a lot more sugarcane if you don't use rows of water, which is what my design uses, and I'll showcase this more in a little bit. But also, he used hopper mine carts, which for every other row, so there's 10 in total. Um, this adds up to over 500 hoppers worth of lag when the chunks are loaded. So my sugarcane design takes inspiration from Mumbo's design and improves it to make it more efficient as well as lag friendly. So this is the end result of my design. I think it looks very pretty. And yeah, I'm going to jump into my creative world to show you a little bit more in detail of how it works. So this is that creative world I was talking about. I will try to leave a download in the description if you want to just download this world, pull it up, and get the design from here. So the main features of my farm is that it spaces sugarcane in this like plus shape pattern. This it's a very pretty looking pattern. It's somewhat annoying to make at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's very easy to make and do over and over again. So this design, it adds a lot more sugarcane per row. So you can have a max of 20 rows for the slime flying machine. So per row, it can add a lot more sugarcane than Mumbo's design. And this is an example of what Mumbo's design looked like. You see, you have water, a row of water, and then sugarcane spaced in here. So I have some signs here. This design here with the rows of water, there's 7 water blocks per row. Whereas my design over there, it uses only 4 waters per row. So essentially all that means, if you look at the math here, it you save about 3 blocks per a row of 20 blocks that you can use for sugarcane. So this is about 23% more efficient in terms of how much sugarcane you're going to yield per row. And the new pattern, it does, I will say it's probably a little bit less than 23% because there are some inefficiencies. So if you come over here and look, some of these corners and some areas on the wall, they're left blank since you can't place sugarcane unless it's next to water. So it's probably a little bit less than 23%, but it's still a significant improvement from this design here. And the other main important thing about this design is that it's very lag friendly. So it utilizes activator rails, which you can see right here. Activator rails, I honestly, before making this farm, I did not know much about activator rails. I don't think I've ever used them in Minecraft, and I've been playing this since beta. However, I came across them and found out about them when I was trying to determine a way to make hopper minecarts less laggy. You know, as I said earlier in the video, they're about 50 hoppers worth of lag for a single hopper minecart. However, a lot of that lag comes from the fact that every tick, these hopper minecarts are checking if there's items above them that they can take in. So these activator rails can actually be used to just turn that system off. So once they're on a powered activator rail, it turns off that feature of the hopper minecart, and it significantly reduces the lag that they cause. So it's still going to have a little bit of lag from the entity that spawned in for, you know, it's the same as a normal minecart, but this is a significant improvement in lag reduction versus just having them causing a lot of lag, constantly checking there's items on them. Okay, so let me break down this design a little bit more. I got some, I made a sign over here to remind myself of some talking points. So this farm, like Mumbo's, it can be a max of 20 blocks long. So this design right here is using the longest 20 blocks long per row. However, if you want, you can make it shorter if needed, if you're trying to build in a limited space. Now, in terms of how long you can make this farm, how far back it can go, it's really up to you. You can make it as long as your heart desires. The main limitation is the amount of storage a hopper minecart can store. So I added a hopper minecart over here. You click on it, you can see that there's a hopper minecart can store 5 stacks worth of goods. So you really ideally you want to make this farm not too long, to the point where if these hopper minecarts go down and collect all the items, they're not going to collect all the sugarcane because there's more than 5 stacks per row. So that's really your only limitation in terms of size. Now, I did add a lot of caveats to this farm. There's a lot of customization that you can make and tweak to fit your own playstyle. So the main things that you can configure are the storage, the cart retrieval, and the farm activation. So when I say farm activation, I'm talking about how this farm starts up. So a manual approach, which is the approach I use just because it's really easy to make, is you add a note block here, and you add an observer that looks into the note block, and then you have a piston placed right here diagonally. And so when you press the note block, it'll activate the piston, which triggers this observer, which starts the flying machine. So this is in my opinion the easiest way of doing it. Now you can do it in an automatic way where you use some sort of clock. This could be a hopper clock. You can look up YouTube tutorials on how to make a hopper clock. You can also use I'm forgetting the name. What is it called? Daylight sensor. Oh, daylight detector. My apologies. Yeah, so you can use a daylight. I'm already forgetting. Daylight detector. Okay. You can use a daylight detector as well, but I'd recommend adding a little bit more redstone to make it trigger every 2 to 3 days. That way, all the sugarcane here is fully grown up. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes in game for sugarcane to completely grow. So about 2 to 3 days for the daylight sensor would probably do. For the sake of this video, I just use the note block here because it's the easiest, but this is like the manual method. Each time you want to harvest this farm, you're going to have to come over and press the note block like this. Yeah, and there it goes. And have you ever seen a bamboo farm that uses this flying machine method? This is essentially the same exact thing, just with sugarcane. Okay, some other things. So this farm is technically 7 blocks tall. You will need a block down here just to power the rails. So technically, you could stack this if you wanted to, but I don't really think that's necessary, especially for the average single player. You really aren't going to need that much sugarcane. And if you want to add a lot of sugarcane, really increase the yield of the sugarcane this farm produces, just make it longer. So I wouldn't recommend building it upwards and stacking multiple farms. But if you want to, you can. So I'm just going to leave that there. So another caveat is that you can technically add more hopper minecarts. My design here, if I go into spectator mode, it uses only 10 hopper minecarts. So I have it spaced out so that each hopper minecart goes down two columns here. And at the very end of the farm, it just turns around here. So when this activates, the hopper minecart will go all the way down. It'll come back, it'll hit this wall here, and then bounce back and go all the way back. So technically, if you wanted, you could make it so that there's a hopper minecart in every single row, and that could allow you to make the farm even longer if you really want to. But again, I just really don't think that's necessary. And doing it this way, you're saving a little bit more lag with less hopper minecarts loaded. So also another very small thing, you ideally you're going to want to light the farm above the farm. So this could be some sort of light source, such as glowstone here. You just add some light source that floats above the farm, doesn't get in the way of the flying machine or anything. So you might want to do this if you're running this a lot, since mobs could spawn here at night. And if that happens, you run the flying machine, the hopper minecarts go by. If any mob died due to sunlight, for example, or due to the flying machine just killing them, then the hopper minecarts would pick up those mob drops and it might mess up your farm. So I in my single player world, I didn't light them up, and from time to time the farm will break because it picks up some still mob drop. But you know, again, up to you if you really want to. Okay, I think that's about everything I want to talk about in terms of this farm. Let me go into a bit more of the details in terms of the pattern. So here's that water pattern I was talking about again. Now, when you add the water, you're going to want to use either slabs or stairs. This way, the water stays in this block, but it doesn't go down and flood this whole area down here and destroy the rails. If I had to choose between the two, I would recommend going with stairs, since it's just a little bit easier to walk around. If you're ever have to walk in this farm, it's kind of annoying to constantly be walking over these slabs. But it's up to you. It really doesn't matter in terms of the farm and the yields. So over here, I just made a little diagram of what that pattern looks like. The diamond blocks here is where you would place the water. So after building this farm twice now on my single player world and then here in creative, these are two ways you can quickly make this pattern. One is what I call the knight, if you're familiar with chess, or just a snaking pattern. So you would place a block of water here, and then you go 2 over, and then place another block here, and then just keep repeating that pattern. And another way of looking at it is that when you place a block of water, you'd go 4 blocks and then place another one if you want to just go this method. So that's what it looks like. And the way this works is that when you have, let me get some water out and some sugarcane. So when you have a water layout like this, sugarcane, to grow and to place down, it requires to be next to a water block. So with this pattern here, you can actually place sugarcane in a 2x2 block pattern like this. Yeah, so I think it's a little clever, sorry, clever way of adding more sugarcane per a square perimeter like this. Okay, so I should have started this with the video, but I'm getting to it now. This is a typical sugarcane farm that most people are probably familiar with, and I just made a simple one here. So there's 2 rows of sugarcane per a 7 block row. You can see this is 7 blocks long, and it requires many pistons and observers, which can be costly. There are a few pros of this method. It's easily stackable if you want to keep building up and make this huge block work of sugarcane farms. It's also, you can start out really small. You can just have a really small one here like this, which is ideal for the start of your game if you're just getting started and want a fully automatic way of getting sugarcane. And it's also pretty easy to build. There's no complex patterns like this. There's no having to get all these slime blocks and obsidian. There's none of that. So compared to that, it's pretty easy to build early game. However, there are a lot of cons. So it's costly with all those materials like the pistons for every single sugarcane, as well as observers. It can be laggy with all these observers, and it's costly to expand. So if you have to keep expanding this out, you want a really large farm, this starts to get really costly with all these pistons and observers. Compared to this, really, once you have the flying machine, that's about it. You know, you just have to place the water down, and you can just make this as long as your heart desires. So in my opinion, this is way less costly than something like this on a larger scale. And also, what I was talking about earlier is not space efficient. So for this farm, you're able to add about 16 sugarcane per row. Then just keep going down the length here. Whereas this farm, you only can place 2 sugarcane per 1 row. So if you have a really large area and you're trying to get as much sugarcane as possible, this is not as efficient as something like this. Yeah, so in this chest here, I just have a basic diagram of what you're going to need for this farm. If you go with the 20 length option for the farm, you're going to need 20 obsidian, 18 slime blocks, at least 4 observers, and if you go with this manual activation method using the note block, you're going to need 5. You're going to need 2 sticky pistons, 3 normal pistons, and 1 note block, which I forgot to add here. And then also I added these other materials, which is really up to how long you make the farm, like how far this goes down. But you're going to need sugarcane, obviously, water, some sort of building material. I just used mud bricks for this video, but you can use whatever you want. And then you're going to need either stairs or slabs for the locking in those water blocks here. Then you're also going to need rails. You're going to need activator rails, as well as repeaters, hoppers, and hopper minecarts, as well as gates. And I'll explain what the gates are for. So the most technical part of this farm here has to do with the hopper minecarts, actually, and the activator rails. So go into spectator mode to get a better view of this. So the way this works, I have each hopper minecart here sitting on a activator rail. And that way I just ensure that they're completely locked. They're not causing lag for the world. But to move the hopper minecarts, typically you want a hopper minecart sitting on a powered rail like these here with the gold. So with a powered rail, if you turn them on, it'll activate the minecarts and they'll start going down. But if I wanted them to stand on activator rails like here, I couldn't use powered rails for that. So the workaround I had was actually, I made the activator rails. I made these activator rails here on a sloped incline. And then I used gates right here. So these gates, technically, it might not look like it from this video, but these gates actually block the hopper minecart from moving. So it keeps them in place right here. But since this is a sloped incline, once these gates open, the hopper minecart will actually roll down and then it'll hit these power rails and start going. So that's how the activator rails work, and to make sure that it's not causing any lag. You might be wondering why I have another set of activator rails here. So the way activator rails work is you you run over once a hopper minecart runs over it, it it toggles the mode. So in this case, it's toggled to be off. So I had to make it run over another activator rail here to toggle it back on, so that once the hopper minecarts go down this whole length, they're actually collecting sugarcane. If you just left these second layer of activator rails out, it wouldn't be collecting sugarcane. So yeah, that's not ideal. So the way that I powered these activator rails and also powered the gates to turn on once the farm turns on, I just had some simple redstone. So I have these repeaters back here that powers these blocks, and those blocks power it sends power through the block and it powers these rails. That way that the activator rail is always on. But it also doesn't interfere with the hoppers, which are underneath. And then for the actual gates, which you can see right here, I just use another line of redstone and a block that goes right above these activator rails. And once the redstone goes over here, it powers the block underneath, which powers the gates right here. So that's how it works. Now, after I built this farm and I built it this way, I think I determined I actually don't need to have these activator rails here. I'm pretty sure I could have just used power rails, and as long as it runs over these activator rails, it'll turn off the hopper mine carts. I have not tested this though, so I don't know, and I'm still not that familiar yet with activator rails to know for sure. But I do know that my current design works, so that's why I'm showcasing this. But if anyone else who's a little bit more inclined with activator rails and this type of redstone knows that these aren't necessary, please leave a comment, let me know so I can update this farm and improve this layout, because this was a little bit complicated to create. And if I could just use powered rails like normal and not have to have all these gates and this complicated redstone, that would be more ideal. Yeah, so that's the most complicated part of the farm. And honestly, it's still not that complicated when it comes to making. Yeah, let me break this whole thing. So when it comes to making these activator rails on an incline like this, you'll notice that what you have to do, grab one, is that if you just place it down on top of the hopper, it's just going to stand like this. So you actually have to add another rail up here. And then if you break this rail, it stays on the incline. Then you can add your building block there. And as long as you don't touch that rail, it's going to stay like that. So yeah, that's a way to go about it. It's a little bit complicated. It might not feel intuitive, but I wouldn't describe it as difficult. Okay, so I think that about covers what I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, the storage. So for the sake of this video, I just have oops. I just have a chest here for the storage. It just uses these hoppers to bring all the sugarcane right over here. And again, this is up to you with how you want to make a storage system. So it's only going to be outputting sugarcane, so you don't really have to have a sorter, an item sorter. So you don't need that type of redstone. You might just want to have chests here, but if you would like, you can add a auto crafter now that that's a feature in the game, and automate a little bit more of this process. So I have it back in my single player world where I did design that. So here's the farm. As you can see, I used a different source block. I used some sandstone, added this cute little staircase here to make it look a little bit nicer. And yeah, I still went with the glass on the side just because I like to see my farm and whatnot. But if I go into spectator mode, you can see that here's that rail of hoppers I talked about earlier. And I just have it feed into a very standard autocrafter design. So this autocrafter ensures that you have to have, here, let me get out my silk touch so I can show you without breaking this glass. Okay, so this just ensures that it has to have 3 sugarcane, and then it'll build paper. So as long as it doesn't have 3 here, this composter and the comparator, it won't let it craft. So that way it doesn't craft sugar, which would mess up this whole farm, because we don't need sugar, we want paper. So it's just a really, really simple redstone contraption here for the autocrafter. And the design I went with this storage is I have the autocrafter shoot the items into a water column. It goes up with the bubbles, and then it goes into my storage, which if you come over here, it's the storage I set up. You can use chests. I used barrels. Actually, I didn't mean to use barrels. It just turns out that I got my dimensions wrong, and the chest would have come out 1 block farther than I wanted to. So I decided to go with barrels. Technically, the barrels are better in terms of lag reductions, since it's harder to load chests in the game versus barrels. I won't go into the technicals for this video, since that's another topic, but if I go into spectator, I'll just show you the design I used. So I just have that water column come up, uses some ice and some honey blocks to make sure it's on the edge here, and then the items flow. Actually, here, let me run the farm, and I can show you what I'm talking about. All right, so there it goes. Oh, hello. Ugh, always a wandering trader messing up my day. Yeah, so hopper mine carts, they're running. Then once this farm comes back, it's actually going to run the hopper mine carts again, so it makes sure it picks up everything. But once it picks up everything, it's going to craft the sugarcane. It's going to shoot up the paper once the autocrafter crafts it, and it's going to go into my chest here. Yeah, and so from here, I just have a librarian trading hall, so I can just take that paper, trade with them, get all the emeralds my heart desires, and be a very happy camper. Monsters nearby. Oh, yeah, you. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's my sugarcane farm. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and I hope this kind of catches on and people make sugarcane farms better. Because in my opinion, the current standard sugarcane farm is not the best farm for the majority of people. Oh, what is going on? Oh my goodness. What just happened? Where did... Okay, I don't even know what that was about. I don't even know what happened to that wandering trader, but yeah, we're gonna end the video on that note. So thanks everyone. If you stayed to the end of the video, cool, thank you. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.